welcome back to my channel. Last week we talked about different picture books you can use during those first few days of school. How you can use read alouds to create a classroom community, to make sure that everyone feels welcome and to really set the tone for the year. Another great way to use picture books and to use read alouds at the beginning of the year is to go over your classroom expectations. So yes, we can just make a list on a board and hang it up in the classroom, but by using read alouds, by using picture books, we can really help students to understand the expectations of the classroom as well as internalize them. And we can use these picture books to go back to. We can talk about those characters when students are having trouble with those expectations, and we can say, remember when the character in the book did this? Then what happened? And use it as that teaching point. So I have a collection of books today that you can use to teach classroom expectations at the beginning of the year, or even when students might need a reminder during the middle or even end of the year as well. But first, if you're new here, my name is Sarah, and I love to come onto this channel every Sunday night to share read aloud tips and book ideas that you can use in your classroom right away. If that sounds like something you're interested in, give this video a thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button down below so that you don't miss a video. Now, let's jump into those books to teach classroom expectations. The first one that I have is Unto Otters. This is a book about manners. In this book, it talks about all the different ways that we can treat others and how they are hoping to be treated. Cooperate, we take turns, we share, all these different ways that we can be considerate to others. No matter who they are, whether they're in our classroom, in a different classroom, these are ways that we show kindness, that we work with others, and that we can help each other out. These are great reminders for students, especially at the beginning of the year, on how they should be treating their classmates and how they should be expected to be treated as well. The next book that I have, I know is an issue that comes up in classrooms a lot. This one is called Interrupting Chicken. In this story, Chicken's dad is reading a bedtime story and he cannot get through any of the stories because she keeps interrupting him. It's a silly story that your students will definitely laugh out loud at, but they'll get the point that when constantly interrupting, we can't get through the books, we can't get through the lesson, and that it's important to make sure that you listen, and if you have ideas to share, to wait until there's a time to share them. So again, students will get a kick out of this book, but they'll also learn how important it is to listen, whether it's to their classmates or to the teacher as they are teaching. Another great book to teach classroom expectations. What If Everybody Did That is a great book for teaching responsibility, making sure that we are taking care of our own things as well as the earth, that we are taking care of our own behaviors, and just being responsible in general. This one goes through some things that we might do that we think aren't really a big deal, like just throw a wrapper on the ground. It's just one wrapper, not a big deal. What if everybody did that? And it really shows students the consequences of their actions if everybody did that. And that even if that one act might seem small, might not seem like a big deal, really adds up and can be a big deal. And that it's important for students to be responsible. And this addresses many things, but you can have that conversation with students about what it looks like in the classroom. Like this one goes through things at home, in the community, that kind of thing. But you can have a conversation with students about what the expectations are in the classroom. And if you're not seeing those expectations, if everybody did it, what would happen? So if everybody shouted out, the class would be so loud. If everyone dropped their books on the floor, again, it would be a mess. A great conversation starter with students about what those expectations are and why we have those expectations. Because I think a lot of times we give students these rules to follow and they just think it's dampening their fun, that there's not really a reason. So this one kind of gives that reason between why we have those expectations and why it's important to follow them. This next one kind of goes along with Interrupting Chicken. This one is called Quiet Please, Owen McPhee. And in this story, Owen loves to talk. and he's just constantly talking and very rarely listening because he's always talking. And his friends start to get fed up, his classmates, and even the adults around him start to get frustrated because he's talking so much, he's not letting them talk. He's not following the directions. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing because he's so busy talking that he misses out on what's supposed to be happening. And then one day he gets laryngitis and he can't talk, and he realizes how important it is to listen. And I think this is an important lesson for students to not only not shout out like we talked about with interrupting chicken, but how important it is to listen. To not only listen to the teacher, but to listen to our friends, to listen to our classmates, that they have great ideas to share as well, and we need to take the time to listen. Another important book to share with your students to teach those classroom expectations at the beginning of the year. This next book I know I've shared before, and I have lost the cover of it. This one is one of my favorites. This is We Don't Eat Our Classmates, so I don't really need to hold it up, but in We Don't Eat Our Classmates, Penelope Rex is a new student in her class. And when she gets to her classroom, she realizes that all of her classmates are not dinosaurs like her, but they are actual human being students. And dinosaurs think that human beings are awfully delicious, and she just really wants to eat them. And even though they tell her not to, and even though the teacher tells her not to, she still tries to eat those delicious students. Until one day, the class goldfish tries to eat Penelope, and she gets a little bit of a taste of her own medicine, and she realizes how she needs to be treating others. She didn't like when somebody tried to eat her, so she should not be eating other kids. And she changes her behavior. So I think that, again, another book about helping students understand that we need to treat others with respect, that even though we really want to do something, it may not be what they like, and we need to understand how they want to be treated as well. Another great yet silly book to share with your students because, again, it has that important message, but it's fun and students can connect to it. Another book for teaching classroom expectations would be Clark the Shark. In the story, Clark is enthusiastic. He is enthusiastic about everything. He's excited about lunch. He's excited about reading. And he's so excited that it kind of takes over what the other kids are doing. He's so excited about lunch that he eats their lunches. He's so excited about the class read aloud that he's laughing and yelling out during story time. And it makes it hard for the other kids to pay attention and to listen, and they start to get kind of frustrated with him. And they don't really want to spend time with him anymore because he's just too excited about things, too enthusiastic. And he doesn't realize as he is being loud or eating other people's food that they don't like it. He just does it more and more. So I think this is a good book about understanding social cues, which can be tricky, especially for younger students, that we need to be aware of our own actions and making sure that we're controlling our own actions so that we're not impeding on the learning or the enjoyment of others as well. And that we need to be aware, again, of what they are expecting, and that we need to control our own behaviors too, especially in a social situation, in a classroom, or in a school. Again, students will really enjoy the book because it's silly and it's fun, but it has that good message at the end that they, again, will be able to refer back to later and will internalize that message as well. Another book that I have for setting expectations at the beginning of the year is Strega Nona. And at first I didn't really think that this one would fit in, but it does. So in this one, we all know the story about how she has the magic pot that makes the pasta, and she tells Big Anthony in the book not to use it. And when she goes away, he decides to use it and makes a mess of the town because the spaghetti won't stop coming out of the magic pot. At the end, he needs to take responsibility for his actions. And so this is a great one for teaching students that all of our actions have consequences. And then we need to take responsibility for those actions, that we need to make it right. In this story, Big Anthony ends up eating all of the pasta that has flooded the town, but students need to understand that even if it's a mistake, they still need to take responsibility for it and take ownership for it and make up for it. And I think this is a good way of teaching that lesson. This next one is one that I always love to read aloud, especially my second grade class, Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. In this story, Lily is so excited because she has this brand new purple plastic purse. She just wants to share it with the class. And her teacher says, of course, you can have a chance to share. Now is not the right time. You can share it later. Well, she's so excited she can't wait until later. And she busts out the purse when she's not supposed to, and her teacher puts it away and says, you can have it at the end of the day. And she gets really upset. She thinks that her teacher hates her and that he's so mean. And she finds out later he writes her a note that says, it's okay, you made a mistake. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. And she starts to feel bad that not only did she make this mistake, but she thought her teacher hated her and she's really mad at him, and she turns it around. And she goes to him and she apologizes and she makes better choices. And I think that this book is important for helping students understand that we make mistakes, but that we need to make up for those mistakes, that we need to correct our behavior, we need to apologize when we make those mistakes. And again, another important lesson for students to learn, and a great character that they can connect with. And the last book that I have is one of my favorites, and it's great for the beginning of the year and teaching the expectation that we need to include others, that we need to make sure that we're not leaving others out. So in this story, Strictly No Elephants, a young boy is excited to go to pet club, and it's a pet club meeting day, and he's so excited, and he shows up with his pet elephant and finds out that elephants aren't allowed at the pet club. And he's so sad. But then he meets up with another girl who has a pet skunk, and she says, I'm probably not allowed in pet club either. And together they decide to make a club that includes everybody. Anybody can come with their pet, or even if they don't have a pet, and they're allowed to be part of this club. And I think this is important, and it might not always be an issue that pops up at the beginning of the year, but I always notice towards the springtime, when students are getting pretty comfortable with each other in the classroom, that we really need to focus on making sure that they're including others and that people are not being left out. So another great book to teach the expectations of your classroom at the beginning of the year. And I will leave all of these books linked in the description box down below, along with lessons that go along with every single one of these books. I have social emotional learning lessons to go along with these read alouds so that you can really take these books to another level. It includes the discussion questions as well as extension activities that you can use in your classroom to really help students internalize the message of each of these books and to really set the tone to explain what those classroom expectations are for the year, if you use them at the beginning of the year, or as a great way to review as you get further into the year. I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button down below, because I'll be back next week with some brand new picture books that were released in the month of July 2023. Have a great week.